Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 53 of the Horsemen podcast. And wow, joining me as always, we have right above me the handsome Portuguese bastard, Artur.
How you doing?
Up over on the top right, we got the fancy mustache wearing motherfucker named Ricky.
Yeah. Yellow.
And then next to me on the right here, the always pretty Hannah.
Duh.
And Ricky, next time, make it a Rick Root stash.
No, I can't. Trust me.
Joey
I've done
Ryan.
I've done it.
Oh, no.
I can't. There's no way I'm gonna have the Rick Rook mustache.
Oh, man. Well, anyways, welcome to the Horsemen podcast. The weekend of streams for me is not close to being over. Hell, even after to this, I stream tonight. But I gotta do a lot of recording and stuff before that happens, so... I'm a busy little bee. But yeah...
You're a busy little bastard.
Yeah. You, sir, are just a bitter young bastard!
Jackass.
Yeah. Hey, Shane.
Wanker.
Your mother's
Wanker.
a whore. Hey, Vince. Your children are bastards. I've wrestled Leatherface in my past, and I went to those home theaters to watch those stupid old home movies, and let me tell you something, you inbred no good piece of shit, cross-dressing motherfucker, I wouldn't eat your ribs if they were made from a jackass.
Okay, carrying on.
Scott, I swear, Scott has cursed my life with Terry Funk, I swear. But anyways, on to business. So, this week's topic, the hardest episode ever!
Agree.
Yep, it is.
Nope.
Oh, yeah, maybe not for you, Hannah,
Oh.
but for the rest of us. Oh, God. Top 10 albums
Don't
of
mention it.
the 80s.
Now, I'm gonna say this right now, and I told you before we go on. Every single hour we're gonna mention right now, whether they're at the bottom or at the top, has a good argument in being in anybody's top list.
Yes.
Unlike the 90s, unlike the 2000s and the 2010s, there were some out there, but this one, more particularly, was a motherfucking pain in the ass that it took me almost a month to do.
Yeah. Yeah,
There's so many
originally...
good albums.
Yeah, originally for this episode we were going to have Professor Martin Popoff from Banger TV and world-renowned metal author, but scheduling conflicts got in the way. But hey, it wasn't a total loss. He said he'd be down for a future episode in June, so we'll be able to try and get him back in for an episode by then. But he's here in spirit, though. So I guess
Although he's not dead.
you know what I meant.
Yeah.
Um,
I like to joke around. Also, just a bit of a side note, which is a Portuguese thing that's happening today. Happy Mother's Day, not just to your mothers, but to all mothers all over the world. I know that in other countries it's a different date, but here today it's Mother's Day.
yeah, next Sunday's Mother's Day here in the States.
Yes.
So you could consider
week
this
earlier.
Mother Week. There you go.
Yeah.
Mother.
Not on my list.
To walk my way.
So I guess a good place to begin is to talk about what the hell happened in the 80s in heavy metal. Well, by 1980, metal had been around for a decade, going back to 1970, but it was around 1980 we started to see developments. New wave of British heavy metal was hitting its peak by this point, or it was just starting to hit its peak. A year later, the early signs of glam metal, and we're talking the good stuff, not the shit that came out in the second half of the decade.
Check.
Also around the same time, thrash and speed metal was beginning in the early 80s as well in the States,
Double
Europe,
check.
and Canada. And then after a few years, we would start to see more subgenres creep up. By the mid-'80s, we're getting the first wave or proto-black metal, death metal's coming into being, power metal's coming along, prog metal's starting to get in there. Yeah, prog metal's starting to come up through the cracks. Even for non-metal genres that had an impact on metal, like hardcore punk had its raw beginnings in the early 80s.
There is one of those albums on my list.
Yeah, and then by the time we get to the second half of the decade, that was when we started to see hardcore become more metal rather than punk, and that was through crossover thrash metal music. And that was a huge period in the second half of the decade where we would see bands like Suicidal Tendencies, DRI, SOD, Cro-Mags, Nuclear Assault, Corrosion of Conformity.
GBH.
GBH even.
GBH.
Even Discharge even went down that route towards the end of the decade. So there's
and some of those bands would later influence other acts such as Napalm Death.
Yep. Yeah, the crossover stuff and thrash metal and death metal in general helped inspire also another big genre in the extreme metal scene, grindcore. Also, can't forget, doom metal began here officially here.
Don't, because I almost forgot about that album.
Oh my god, I know which one.
Not Epicus.
I know which one. Yeah, the other one.
Yeah, the other one.
So, and am I missing any subgenres that started in the 80s?
Speed metal,
I don't
thrash
think
metal, Nuwabum, black metal, death metal.
Nuwabum was on the rise, and then by mid-'80s was going down.
Well, in Japan, J-rock was starting to become a big thing.
The American power metal scene that also started in the 80s. Iced Earth, Crimson. Okay, that band that shall not be named. I don't want YouTube to censor us again.
Yeah.
Crimson Glory, Virgin Steel,
Medieval Steel. Oh man, I love that Medieval Steel.
Jag Panzer.
Yeah,
Sacred Reich.
Yeah, there's a lot. So
I mean, I guess that's it.
Yeah, I guess that was it in terms of the 80s. So,
but one of the things that you said at the beginning, what didn't happen in the 80s in terms. Let's not forget also the PMRC happened in the 80s.
Yes.
Oh boy.
Fuck Tipper Gore.
Oh boy.
And
Tipper and Al Gore versus D. Snyder.
And a lot of zombie dust was passing around.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then as far as, like, if I were to choose what subgenre thrived the most in the 80s in terms of popularity and influence, thrash.
Yeah.
It would have to have been thrash, because without thrash, no black metal, no death metal, no grindcore, nothing. And we can thank the early pioneers. Exodus, Overkill, Metallica, Slayer, and Anthrax, the 5 bands that started it all. Right.
And
there.
Metal Church.
I mean, I can rebut that statement saying that, yeah, even though Nuwabum was great for a total of 5-6 years. Yes. I mean, I don't think that without Nuwabum,
without
there
Nuwabum,
would be any thrash metal.
Yeah.
No, without Nuwabum, yeah, for sure. I mean,
and Nuwabum did, and let's be honest, Nuwabum did a lot and succeeded a lot. I mean, it was from Nuwabum that came some of the most influential bands in the world, such as Maiden, Saxon. Okay, Motorhead was not, but it was attached to it, just like Judas Priest. But then Raven, Samson,
Diamond Head.
Which one? Exactly, Diamond Head, Tigers of Pantang, Def Leppard, even though they don't like to be associated to it, but
nowadays,
you could say thrash metal, you could say thrash metal, which is a very good point. But I would say that Nuwabum was more influential than thrash.
Yeah, I guess I only went with thrash because it thrived throughout the whole decade. So,
I mean, but then again, you remember Iron Maiden? They started to play Am I Evil, never mentioning it that it was from.
Or no, it was
Diamond
Metallica.
Head.
No, it was Metallica.
And this was during the time that the 80s Billboard charts actually mattered. Record sales mattered.
Yeah. And
Yes.
to think record sales hadn't even peaked yet. That would come in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Let's not forget Metal Health by Quiet Riot, the first ever metal album to debut at number one.
Yep.
When the Billboard Top 100 mattered.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, anything else you want to add into this, Hannah? Nope. Okay. Alright, so now on to honorable mentions, and oh boy, we're probably going to be on here for about an hour talking about just honorable mentions, because there's just so many great albums.
Can I start with mine? Can I start
ahead.
with mine because it's the least?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I have 9 honorable mentions. 9? And I'm going to start with 1984's Wasp debut. Wasp.
Ooh.
I mean, I Want to Be Somebody, Love Machine, Hellion, Tormentor. Enough said. I'm not a big fan of Def Leppard, but I know that I had to add Hysteria here to the list as well.
I got a Def Leppard album in my honorable mentions, but it's not Hysteria.
Pyromania?
You just have to wait and see.
Okay. The first of many concept albums from the 80s. Operation Mindcrime by Queensryche. The only hardcore punk band that I have right here, even though I don't consider them hardcore, Dead Kennedys, Fresh Fruit and Rotten Vegetables.
Ooh.
I mean, classics. Holiday Cambodia, Kill the Poor, California Oberales, which is a theme today. This one I almost cried when I did not add to this list. Blizzard of Oz by Ozzy Osbourne.
It's in my honorable mentions. It's in my honorable mentions.
But it's not on the list because there are 2 other albums that are a whole lot better than Blizzard. I have Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood, although I could have easily put here Shout at the Devil.
That's another one I forgot.
Levi is going to kill me for this. Beneath the Remains by Sepultura.
That's also in honorable mentions.
Okay.
So you're safe for now.
Okay. My first German contribution, Balls to the Wall by Accept. Of course. And you already know that I was going ballistic if I did not add this. And Levi said at the beginning of Doom Metal, Candlemass's Nightfall.
Yep.
No way I was going to put Epicus here, but Nightfall for sure.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So next, I have 13 honorable mentions.
Oh boy.
I have Dokken Under Lock and Key.
Ooh.
Probably one of my favorites from the album, The Hunter with the Sunrise. Great songs to listen to.
Good choice.
Shocking next one. Bathory's debut. Bathory.
I have another one.
I have another
in
one.
my
I mean,
time.
as influential for the proto black metal is, I mean, come on, a fucking goated. Funny. I wonder where he got the idea from. Random.
It's on my list, and it's on my black metal tie.
But again, highly influential. Hades, The Reaper, Sacrifice, Raise the Dead, and it's like even 25 minutes long. Even as Korsang said, it's not because it's the best Bathory album. It's not because of the worst. It's the debut, and anybody needs to have it for their purpose of collection and historical reasons. And it's 25 minutes.
We'll talk about it once we get to my black metal.
I have Hall of the Mountain King by Sabotage.
Oh!
Again, another one of those top choices that I had to cut because White Witch, the title track, so many good songs.
Isn't Sirens also from the 80s?
Yes. I think 84, 88, around there. I have Grim Reaper, See You in Hell.
Oh, damn! And I do like Grim Reaper.
I love in my Grim Reaper, especially that album cover with the Reaper riding the horse. Ooh! Queen's Ride, Operation Mindcrime. This was before. This was obviously for purposes. This was before they became. Well, actually, Jeff Tate been well crazy, but okay, great album to listen to. This is gonna be a shocker. Ace of Spades, Motorhead.
It's in my
you
list.
Son of a B.
It's in my list.
It's on my number 8.
It's my number 9. Tied for my number 8.
With another one. Another one.
I said this was hard. I had to make some very tough decisions, but again, Motorhead, Lemmy's God. I mean, Phil and
next,
and Filthy Animal.
Yes, Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz.
Obviously,
for obvious reasons. I'm sorry, Artur. I'm sorry. King Diamond, Abigail.
3.
Oh my God! I thought that was your number 1.
No, but my number 1 is too obvious as well. And I'll just say it's not Number of the Beast. Fuck off.
Dio's Holy Diver. Again, a classic.
God damn it! Why are you mentioning most of the albums on my list?
I mean, a big pioneer of freaking
Number 5.
Yeah.
Number 5, Holy Diver, with another one, which I'm sure it will be on your list.
Catamas, Epicus Domicus Metallicus. Probably my favorite of Catamas. Accepts Balls to the Wall. I mean, good German contribution. Michael Jackson's Thriller. This is the oddest one out of my entire list.
I'm out. Thriller, metal.
Yeah, that was in the 80s.
We're talking hard rock and metal, damn it.
I know, but it's one of my
otherwise I could have put here News of the World by Queen or even Bohemian.
I know, but I wanted to throw that there in the list because
I
like me that. And last but not least,
I don't mind either. I like.
Last but not least, Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses.
That's also in my honorable mentions.
Fuck Exa.
Here we go.
And those are my honorable mentions, everybody.
All right. Well, since all right, Hannah, I'll let you go next. I guess I'll go last for honorable mentions because I have eclipsed everyone.
This time I don't have the most honorable mentions. Yay!
Was?
Yeah, natürlich. But I have quite a few, and I'm going to start with Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry.
It's on my list.
I forgot that one.
Had I not run out of space, it would be on like number 10 or whatever. But there's something else on my list. I sadly ran out of space. I mean, Burn in Hell, We're Not Gonna Take It, I Wanna Rock. There are some awesome songs on here, and it's my favorite Twisted Sister album.
Even the ballads, the price to pay.
Yeah. Then I also have on my honorable mentions list Warlock, Triumph and Agony. I'm German. And this is without doubt my favorite Warlock album. I Rule the Ruins, Metal, Tango, and all the awesome stuff that is on here für immer. I like listening to Doro Pesch once in a while, as long as she doesn't start talking. Then I'm angry. But I mean, the music is awesome, and I had to talk about it. Then next, I also have Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil here, my favorite Motley Crue album, although one of the worst concerts I've ever seen. But I mean, it's iconic as fuck. Then I have Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell on here.
God damn it! She already spoiled.
Real quick.
Ricky spoiled one half of my number 5. Hannah spoiled the other half. Holy Diver and Heaven and Hell.
I mean, I personally prefer Holy Diver over Heaven and Hell, but that's just me. I still think it's an awesome album and influential as fuck. Yeah. But real quick, make it.
Yeah, real quick. I'll be right back. I gotta go take care of something for a few minutes. I'll be back.
All right.
Have success. Okay. Well, then next I have Manowar, Kings of Metal.
I forgot Manowar.
I mean, it's my favorite Manowar album out of this era. You have Kings of Metal, Heart of Steel, and
Fucking
Hail
Crown in
and
the Ring.
yes, I mean this album is awesome, and I like early Manowar stuff, and this one too. But I ran out of space. Then I also have Def Leppard Hysteria on here. I mean the album after the tragic accident of the drummer, I forgot his name, and where they got big in the big stadium band, and there are awesome songs on here. I like it, but not enough to put it on the list. Then I have Megadeth, Peace Cells on here.
My number... God damn it, again? My number 10 on the thrash metal side.
The thing is, it's together with Holy Wars. It's one of my favorite Megadeth albums, and I mean for Peace Cells alone, it should be on the list. But I wanted to put some other thrash bands on my list, so I ran out of space. Same goes for Sepultura, Beneath the Remains, together with Roots. My favorite Sepultura album, fucking awesome. Still fresh, and raw and awesome, and yeah, so on. The same goes for Agent Orange, Sodom.
Oh, I forgot Agent Orange.
Again, I simply ran out of space, but I simply wanted to talk about those 3 thrash albums. And the thing is, I mean, there isn't a death metal album on my list, because I'm not. I mean, death metal really blew up and got big in the 80s, but I'm not a big... I mean, I like the European death metal style, later played by Entombed, so I'm not that big of a fan of the Florida death metal scenes, but still, I mean, I have some albums of honorable mentions, like Death Leprosy, my favorite death album.
God damn it, again.
I'm sorry, I like this album.
I know.
But not enough to put it on the list. Same goes for Autopsy, Savage Survival, Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness, Possessed, Seven Churches.
Boy. My entire number 7.
Sorry. I mean, I respect those albums, and I like certain songs of these albums, but not enough to put it on the list. Then, I mean, I'm from Germany. I have to talk about this album, Accept Balls to the Wall.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I will be shocked. Be shocked if we are going to talk about another German band. I will be shocked if we talk about another German band, and Ricky knows which one, and Hannah doesn't have at least one or these 2 albums on her list.
Creator, Halloween, but
Halloween!
I have them on my list, but on my honorable mentions list, I have Accept Balls to the Wall. I mean, for the cover alone, one has to mention this, but then you have awesome songs like Balls to the Wall, London Leather Boys, and I like the ballads closing the album, Winter Dreams. I'm a big fan of this album. And then let's continue with Artur, I'm sorry. Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath.
I come back and I hear that. Oh, great.
Okay, one has said my first number 3, and you said the other. Abigail and Don't Break the Oath. And I was tempted to put Melissa to it.
I was going to put Melissa too, but again, not enough space.
Okay, I know. The only thing I know is one of you is going to kill me if you say my number 1 or my number 2. That's all I'm. That's all I'm about.
I don't know. I'm not going to talk much more about any King Diamond related project. He's influential as fuck, and I like him on stage, but not so much on studio recordings. Yeah. Anyway,
it depends on the albums.
It's just my personal view. Let's continue with Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime.
Obviously.
One of the best concept albums of the 80s, and still very listenable to this day, but I ran out of space. And then Motorhead, Ace of Spades, didn't make it. And lastly, I have Yngwie Malmsteen with Rising Force.
Oh!
Didn't make it.
I forgot Rising Force.
Yeah.
Quick question. Was Metal Heart also during...
In the 80s?
Was also
85.
In the 80s?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's it with my honorable mentions. So
Alright.
Levi.
The floor is yours.
Alrighty, so for my honorable mentions, I'm going to first mention the albums I don't have in my collection yet. So I got King Diamond Abigail, Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses Appetite for Destruction, Violence Eternal Nightmare, one of the best Bay Area thrash albums of all time. And it's only 7 songs, 35 minutes, and it's no filler, all killer. Back when Rob Flynn actually was good. Fuck you, Rob Flynn. Anyways, Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil. Napalm Death, Scum.
Oh, damn. Forgot.
One of the best in grindcore. Destruction, Infernal Overkill. Classic debut out of the German thrash scene. And finally, Venom Black Metal.
On my list.
What? Really?
Yep.
Wow.
I
You
just think.
stole my number 7.
But now on to the honorable mentions
Number
of
4
albums.
to me.
So now on to the honorable mentions of albums I actually own. So first off, Savatage, Hall of the Mountain King, one of the best prog metal, power metal albums of the decade. Next up, an underrated, maybe the most underrated traditional thrash album of the decade, from a band that does not get nearly enough credit, Ignorance by Sacred Reich.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing album. More people should scope it out. The Def Leppard album, it's not Hysteria, it's Pyromania.
Pyromania.
Obviously.
I could have went high and dry, but I wanted to go with Pyromania because it was the perfect balance between what they were and what they would become. And, I mean, the song Rock of Ages alone, come on. It's iconic.
And played in Brutal Legend. It's an epic moment.
It is. Next up, some people are going to be shocked this isn't in my top 10. It just barely missed the cut. Anthrax, Among the Living. The best,
Part of my number 10 thrash metal.
Yeah, the best Anthrax album, arguably. I mean, top to bottom, not a poor moment. From the title track through the Fast and Furious imitation of life. Joey Bonadonna. Yeah, Kanamash, Indians, I Am the Law. It's...
Indians.
I might as well shut up on that one. Next up, I'll be shocked if Artur doesn't have this on his list. Symphonies of Sickness by Carcass.
You could kill me. I don't have it.
Neither do I.
I forgot SOS.
And this is the actual cover, not the censored cover that it had, but the uncensored with all the meat. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, you compare this to their first album, Recaputrefaction, night and day. Recaputrefaction, a terrible sounding lo-fi gore grind album. Here they became death metal with grind elements here and there. But yeah, Symphony.
And they were only a trio. Ken Owen, Jeff Walker, Bill Steer. The 3-piece, yeah.
Yeah, and just think in 91 they would become a 4-piece. Next up, it hurt me to pick what Celtic Frost album because we've basically come to finally.
Don't say it.
We finally agreed.
Don't say it.
We finally agreed that Morbid Tales / Emperor's Return were EPs, and there were only 3 other full lengths.
Don't say it.
Come on. Come on. To make it through.
There's only one album left mentioning in my black metal foursome. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, to Megatherion. Although I was torn between picking this or Into the Pandemonium, the album afterwards. But I went with
Megatherion is a whole lot better than Pandemonium.
Yeah,
Yep.
I went with
Personal
to
opinion.
Megatherion, even though I love Into the Pandemonium to death, because it was their most experimental phase. But yeah, to Megatherion, I mean songs like The Usurper, Jewel Throne, the re-recording of Circle of the Tyrants.
Necromantical Screams.
And also that cover, H.R. Giger, rest in peace. The next two that I have are, in my opinion, the two best in the crossover thrash style. First off, Cro-Mag's Best Wishes. Try getting a hold of this album cheap, like I did, for $18, when most of the time I see it go for like $100. But 1989, New York band. This was like, to me, the New York
hardcore scene.
Yeah, they came right out of the beginning of that scene, and then they became more metal as they went along. And to me, this is like the crossover version of Metallica. Like, the riffs are so Metallica-esque, vocals are like a punkier James Hetfield, because the man right there, Harley Flanagan, pretty underrated vocalist, and a great bassist. And then the other one, the namesake, crossover by DRI. One of the best, for Ricky, one of the best Texas bands of all time. Even though they were living in San Francisco at the time, they're Texas raised. So there you go. I mean, songs like The 5-Year Plan, Probation, Decisions, Go Die, Oblivion. Amazing songs where they basically said, we're not punk anymore, we're thrash. We're going to thrash just as hard, if not harder, than the rest of them. And if you want to say Slayer is fast, they'll even tell you DRI was faster. So there you go.
Napalm Death would say that too.
Anyways, now that I got through the crossover stuff, moving on to Bonded by Blood by Exodus.
Obvious.
An all-time thrash classic, even though this isn't the real cover with the Siamese twins being ripped apart. But, I mean, the only album with legendary vocalist Paul Bailoff, I wish he was in the band longer, and may he rest in peace, but, I mean, but the title track, A Lesson in Violence, Strike at the Beast, my personal favorite. Next up...
I got Raphael, who's just saying his honorable mentions. Just saying quickly, he has 5. Melvin's Galley Porch Treatments, Kill 'Em All by Megadeth, Scum by Napalm Death, Crazy Nights by Kiss, and the final cut by Pink Floyd.
And we got a list, but let's wait till Levi finishes.
Yeah. So next up, Obituary, Slowly We Rot.
I forgot that one.
I forgot.
Gruesome, gross, slow death metal. Not quite Death Doom. It borders on it at times. But just great old school Florida death metal that sounds disgusting. All hail John Tardy. One of, if not arguably, the greatest death metal vocalist of all time. Neck and neck with Martin Van Druden, but... amazing. And actually, I completely forgot to pull another one. So, quick addition, Consuming Impulse and Malleus Maleficarum by Pestilence. Now that I have Martin Van Drunen on my mind. Next up, Rush Moving Pictures.
Ooh!
A great album. I mean, when you start off with their biggest hit, Tom Sawyer, with the iconic drum solo by the late great Neil Peart. I mean, it's an amazing album, no question. Next up, Beneath the Remains, Sepultura.
Obvious.
So, I'm gonna save these two for last. Next up, the best grindcore album of the 80s, 89, Terrorizer World Downfall. And it's borderline death metal, too, because it was done at Morrisound. So I would say this is a death grind album, not quite pure grindcore. But, I mean, look at that lineup. Oscar Garcia, rest in peace, Jesse Pintado, Pete Defeat, and David Vincent. I mean, 16 songs, 36 minutes. It just pummels you. I will be talking about that shortly, believe me. But, yeah, World Downfall, Terrorizer... another case for most underrated thrash album of all time, and arguably the one thrash band that was there at the beginning that still does not get enough respect or credit, and they should be on bigger tours. Overkill, The Years of Decay.
Oh boy.
That's another one I forgot.
I mean, Elimination, I Hate, Nothing to Die For, Skull Crusher, where they show their Black Sabbath influence. Pretty much a doom song on a thrash album. Who Tends to Fire, the title track, and this Evil Never Dies. Mwah! Best Overkill album to me. Next up, one of my favorites in the Bay Area scene, Testament the Legacy.
Alone in the dark. Fuck, I forgot about that one.
Yep. And then, next up, Possessed Seven Church is another Bay Area monster.
Oh.
On my list.
One of the best thrash albums that helps set the stage for death metal. I mean, the song death metal, for crying out loud. And for Henna, my final two, to me, the best... Or actually, I'm going to add a third one, because I completely forgot about these. So I'm going to mention the one that I don't have yet. Helloween, Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 1 and 2.
He said it! Helloween. He said it! Not me!
It's not on my...
I know which one you're going for, and I almost went with it. But
and I have it on my list, too.
But the next two are, in my opinion, the two best out of the German metal scene in the 80s. First, Creator, Pleasure to Kill. Because it's Creator. You can't go wrong with Creator. Well, except for a lot of their 90s catalog, which that's a whole nother topic. And then, finally, Persecution Mania, Sodom. I could have went Agent Orange, but I went with Persecution Mania because it's a little more raw, and a little more brutal, and a little more evil. I mean, enough said. And right here is all my honorable mentions that I own. Alrighty.
I'll say just Raphael's list. I have it right here. From 10 to 1. Raphael's list. Number 10, Endless Pain by Creator. Number 9, Eternal Nightmare by Violence. Number 8, he put a smiley face, I don't know why. Beneath the Remains by Sepultura. Not bad. Number 7, Slayer's Show No Mercy. I think it will be the one that goes Show No Mercy, while most of us will probably go Rain in Blood. Yeah. Master of Puppets, Metallica, number 6. Number 5, Bolt Thrower in Battle There Is No Law. God damn it!
I forgot
another one. I forgot. But if I went Bolt Thrower in the 80s, I would go War Master.
War Master was 91.
Number 4.
It would have been Realm of Chaos is probably what you were thinking.
Yes, Realm of Chaos. Number 4, Sarcophagus ZNRI.
I forgot about that one.
Number 3, Power Metal by Pantera. What?
That's an underrated album. I'll give them that.
That's underrated.
Yeah, but I'm laughing because it's unusual.
Yeah, that's true.
Number 2, Rough House, the self-titled album. Don't know who Rough House is. Number 1, that's Scream Bloody Gore.
Alright, so now on to the top 10s for everyone else. I'll go ahead and start.
Oh boy.
So, I actually decided to have 4 ties, because I realized I forgot a couple of key ones. I'm like, you know what, I need to fix that. So, starting off at number 10, it's the death metal power couple. First, Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness.
On my list, number 6.
Yep. I mean, arguably one of the most perfect death metal albums of all time. I mean, from Immortal Rites through Evil Spells, Not a Poor Moment. I mean, and it's a shame to think that the band never topped it. The closest they came was their next album, Blessed Are the Sick, which is a great album in its own right. But, I mean, this is the pinnacle of Morbid Angel.
It's difficult when a band's first album is their best.
Yeah.
And after that, they try.
They tried. I mean,
the Covenant
great.
is their last great album.
Yeah, Covenant's great. Blessed Are the Sick is great. Domination was good. Formulas Fatal to Flesh and Gateways to Annihilation were fantastic, but yeah, Altars of Madness is where it shines. And then, of course, the band that pretty much created this stuff, Death, Scream, Bloody Gore. I mean,
I'm the only one that's going a different route, possibly.
no, I
Number
know you
9?
and Hannah would probably go, but still, I mean, Scream, Bloody Gore, a little more raw, a little more in your face, and it's crazy to think, with Seven Churches and this album, both produced by Randy Burns, who also produced another album I forgot to have in my honorable mentions. I'm going to add real quick: Darkness Descends, Dark Angel.
Oh yeah.
As well as another album I'm going to be talking about here in just a little bit. But yeah, Scream Bloody Gore, I mean, you start off with Infernal Death and you end with the title track, but the bonus tracks are quite underrated. Beyond the Unholy Grave and Land of No Return. But also some staples like Zombie Ritual, Baptized in Blood, my personal favorite. Starts off really slow and doomy for like the first 20 seconds before just thrashiness going forward. And crazy thing, that's the only album with Chris Ryford on drums before he left and formed Autopsy, which, oh my god, Severed Survival, I forgot Severed Survival. But anyways, I digress. But moving on to number 9. I'm gonna mention the one album I don't have on the number 9 that I do need to get at some point for sure. Motorhead, Ace of Spades.
Yep.
And I love the album, not really because of the title track. I love the title track, don't get me wrong, but the song that sold me on the album the most, The Chase is Better Than the Catch. My personal favorite Motorhead song. It's just, wow. And also Lemmy going high notes towards the end. Not usual for Lemmy. So, but yeah, other songs like Jailbait, We Are the Road Crew, The Hammer,
Ace of Spades itself.
Yeah. There's just so many great songs on there. And to think Lemmy never considered Motorhead metal? Come on. You are so metal. Come on. But next up, I hate to do this to all y'all.
Don't tell me you're gonna have what I think you're gonna have.
Under the Sign of the Black Mark, Bathory.
My number 8?
My black metal number 4 Trinity is not complete because there hasn't been an album mentioned yet.
But yeah, I mean, Under the Sign of the Black Mark, the best black metal album of all time. I mean, this set the standard for what bands to come would go for, with the speed, the evilness. I mean, the other album that came out around the same time that you could argue also shares that sentiment is INRI by Sarcophago. But it's under the Sign of the Black Mark that just fits the bill to a T. You get the black metal blast beats. You get the marching grooves on songs like Enter the Eternal Fire, the greatest black metal song of all time. And
Call to the Grave.
Yeah, and Call from the Grave is a classic too. Woman of Dark Desires. I mean, just top to bottom, an all-time classic.
I mean, a lot of black metal artists either say that their favorite Bathory album is either Under the Sign of the Black Mark or the previous one, The Return of Darkness and Evil.
Yeah, Bloodfire.
And Hannah just said.
Yep. Next up for my number 8.
Yep.
Number 8, it's the next tie. Starting things off with Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath.
Oh boy!
I mean, to me, the best Merciful Fate album. I mean, you start off with one of their best songs in A Dangerous Meeting, and you end with one of their best songs, Come to the Sabbath. But songs like Nightmare, Desecration of Souls, The Oath, Gypsy, Welcome Princess of Hell, and even the piano ballad, 2 1 Far Away is great. I mean, and also probably the best album cover of Merciful Fate's career, arguably, with the Flaming Devil.
I will give that to
And then, of course, the inside with King Diamond going through a gateway that looks like it's leading into hell.
Yeah. And one can make the argument that the best King Diamond album could be from the 80s would be either Don't Break the Oath
or
Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
No. I said Merciful Fate. I didn't say King Diamond.
No, you said King Diamond.
You said King
My mistake.
Diamond.
My mistake. But then again, on the Merciful Fate side, it would be either
that or Melissa.
Or Don't Break the Oath.
All right, and then the other album on the tie for number 8. What the hell was that? Anyways,
What the hell was that?
Where's the duck?
Yeah.
Peace Sells, baby.
Sells.
And
Peace
hey,
Sells.
this is the
Followed
original
by,
release. This is the original album from '86 I have in my possession. Try getting a hold of this, because fuck the remastered versions. But I mean, yeah, Peace Sells, it's an all-time classic. I mean, Wake Up Dead, the title track, Devil's Island, Good Morning Black Friday. Hell, the bass intro to Peace Sells, the MTV News
My
theme
personal
for many
favorite
years.
song of that album, Devil's Island.
Yeah, Devil's Island, yeah. The Conjuring is an underrated one, even though they'll never play it live ever again. Bad Omen's great. Even their cover of I Ain't Superstitious was cool, and then My Last Words was an underrated closing song. Top to bottom, raw, vicious. And this was the other album I was talking about, produced by Randy Burns. So, Randy Burns did 4 of the best albums of the decade. Darkness Descends, 7 Churches, Scream Bloody Gore, and Peace Sells. This guy was a busy bee for, 3 years.
Scott Burns, too.
Yeah, by the end of the decade. Next up for number 7, my final tie. And, oh boy. First, Dio Holy Diver.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, not just because of the title track, but also songs like Stand Up and Shout, Don't Talk to Strangers, Rainbow in the Dark, Straight Through the Heart.
Mm-hmm. Stand Up and Shout.
Mm-hmm. And then to follow that, Heaven and Hell.
Obvious. My number 5 is entirely set.
Yep.
My number 10.
I mean, Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, yeah, to think Sabbath was in the slumps by the end of the 70s, then Ozzy's gone. People thought, oh god, Sabbath is dead, aren't they? Ronnie James Dio from Rainbow comes in and produce a classic. I mean, you start off
One
with...
of two.
Mhm.
One of two of the decade.
Along with another one that I think Hannah's probably going to mention later on. Or at least... Okay, my mind just went blank. Oh, fuck it, I'll say it. Mob Rules, you could make an argument too, but yeah. But yeah, Heaven and Hell, I mean, the song Heaven and Hell alone, you know.
Children of the Sea.
Children of the Sea,
Neon
Die
Knights.
Young, Neon Knights, Evil, Lady Evil. What more can you say about Heaven and Hell? Alright, now for the top 6, it's all single, so no ties from here on out. Number 6... You want to talk about one of the greatest comebacks in history of not just metal, but rock music in general. Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, after being booted from Sabbath at the end of 78, going into 79, people thought, oh man, now Ozzy's career is dead and buried. Comes across amazing guitarist Randy Rhoads from Quiet Riot at the time, and magic was created with this, and even Diary of a Madman you could put in there too, and you wouldn't be wrong. But Blizzard, I mean, it's the album that started it all. Yeah, it's got the singles probably most people are tired of hearing over and over, but they're played because they're so great. Mr. Crowley and Crazy Train, but underrated songs like I Don't Know, Goodbye the Romance, Revelation Mother Earth, an underrated ballad, and my personal favorite, even though it got Ozzy into some legal trouble in the middle of the decade, Suicide Solution. Great riffs, a great solo. I mean, holy crap, what more can I say? And one of the best album covers of the decade, with Ozzy with the cross.
I saw Ozzy on that No More Tours 2 with Judas Priest here in Portugal, he played 4 songs out of Blizzard of Oz. And you mentioned them all. I Don't Know, Suicide Solution, Crowley, and Crazy Train.
And now to the top 5, ladies and gents. This is where it's gonna really start to the murder spree is gonna begin here. At number 5, Screaming for Vengeance.
Oh, thank God!
Son of a...
Oh, thank
Number
God!
2.
Thank Lemmy.
Yeah, Screaming for Vengeance. We talked about a lot of the songs from here during the Songs episode, but I mean, yeah, Electric Eye, Screaming for Vengeance, you got another thing coming, but even some underrated ones like Riding on the Wind, Take These Chains, and the final song, Devil's Child.
They do have a Priest album.
I know which one. I know which one it is.
Defenders.
But I mean, yeah, Screaming. It was the right album at the right time, and it's still perhaps their most influential album to this day. So there you go. I'm not even gonna build up. Number 4.
Back in Black.
then again, I should have known.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh boy, you just killed Ricky.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it was coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, the murder spree.
Don't worry.
Murder sprees are commencing.
Don't worry. I'm not letting you guys. Well, Ricky kind of almost. But anyways, but yeah, Back in Black. I mean, what more can we say about this album that hasn't been said already? After the loss of Bon Scott, again another case. Oh my God, AC/DC's dead. Then they auditioned a bunch of singers, and to think they almost went with Mark Storace from Crocus. Then they found Brian Johnson, and they come out and put out the biggest selling album of the '80s. And I mean, and there's a good reason. Hell's Bells, Shoot to Thrill, Let Me Put My Love Into You, the title track, You Shook Me All Night Long, Have a Drink on Me, and Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. The big hits, and even the other ones that were underrated, like What Do You Do for Your Money, Honey, Giving the Dog a Bone, and Shake a Leg. Mm-hmm. And also produced by Mutt Lange, who would later produce majority of Def Leppard's albums. So
true.
Back in Black at number 4. Number 3. Could this possibly be Murder on Hannah's Part coming up? I don't think so, but I'll be shocked if it is. But number 3, Rain and Blood, Slayer.
It's on my list.
Number 5, 3, and whatever. So
10
and 10. Oh. Wow. But anyways, I mean, yeah, the shortest album in my top 10. I mean, it's barely 29 minutes, but all the songs just pound you in the face. And to think if you had it on vinyl, just flip it over and you listen to it all over again. But yeah, I mean,
that's true.
And probably the album with the best, like, as far as, like, the best combo of opener and closing song in metal history. You open with Angel Death, and you close with Raining Blood. Probably the best in terms of the combo. Like, if we ever do a list of, like, the top 10 opening and closing song combinations, those would be number 1 for me. I'll just say it right now. So, there you go. And then the songs in between, like Piece by Piece, Necrophobic, that would give the name to the band Necrophobic from Sweden, Altar of Sacrifice, Jesus Saves, Criminally Insane, Reborn, Epidemic, and Postmortem. And even the bonus tracks on the re-releases, like their re-recording of Aggressive Perfector. Amazing. Now to the top 2.
Oh God. Here we go.
The top 2 are from the 2 bands that, in my opinion, made the 80s what they were.
I'm guessing one of them is Maiden.
Yes.
And the other one for sure is Metallica.
Yes. The 2 bands.
Which one?
The 2 bands that were the best things of the 80s, bar none, for different reasons. You know, Maiden pretty much inspired almost everything that happened on this list. And then Metallica, one of the first thrash bands, still to this day the most influential thrash band, and one of the top 3 most influential metal bands, period, of all time. But the question is, which albums are they? Well, I'm going to talk Maiden at number 2 first. So for Maiden, really every album in the 80s you could have and you would not be wrong. It's just a matter of personal taste, or if you're going to go off of mine, based on impact, influence, and songwriting quality. And for that reason, I know Artur's going to hate me because I know how he feels about this album. But you can't deny the songs were great, the influence it's had is fantastic, the impact it made.
Shoot, it's Number of the Beast.
Yes. I mean, top to bottom, every song is fantastic. Even though Invaders may be considered a throwaway song, it's still great. But I mean, the big songs like
Invaders, Children of the Damned, and Gangland to me are throwaway. I know how Ricky feels about it, but I'll say it this time, not repeat it.
Whereas I think all those songs are great, especially Children of the Damned. But even some songs are quite underrated in the Maiden catalog, like 22 Acacia Avenue, The Prisoner especially.
Yes.
I love The Prisoner. But of course you get the big hits, the title track, which is a phenomenal song, Run to the Hills, an all-time classic. But Hallowed Be Thy Name, the greatest metal song of all time.
One of the greatest album closers.
The greatest album closer. I'll just say it right now. The greatest album closing song. And epic. Fucking love it. And one of the best album covers. Eddie controlling Satan. So there you go. Number of the Beast at number 2. Now for number 1. Again, the same case with Maiden. You could pick any Metallica album from the 80s, and you would not be wrong. You could pick Kill 'Em All, you could pick Ride the Lightning, you could pick Master of Puppets, even And Justice for All. But for me, it's to the album.
Master of Puppets.
It's to the album, again, made the most impact, biggest influence, and the best songwriting quality, and, in my opinion, best thrash album of all time, and it's my favorite album, period. Like, if I was on a desert island, stuck with one album, it's Master of Puppets.
Obey your master!
Master! I mean, just every song on here is a classic. Battery, the title track, my favorite song of all time. The Thing That Should Not Be, one of the most underrated. Welcome Home, Sanitarium. Disposable Heroes.
Orion.
Yeah, Disposable Heroes, an underrated thrasher. Leper Messiah showcasing their more traditional metal roots.
Orion, the best
instrumental. And Damage Inc., a great closing song that not a lot of people give credit to. I mean, and the guitars on this album rip and full of riffs. And even Lars' drumming, as much shit we like to give Lars for his drumming nowadays, he performed excellently well, even though he would eclipse that with And Justice for All 2 years later. But I thought his drumming, like the double bass on Leper Messiah, mwah. So to anyone who says Lars is a bad drummer, do your research and go back to 80s Metallica. He was fucking good.
I would say Lars is a bad drummer
nowadays, only because he gets lazy on the kicks, but back in his prime, he was tough to beat.
Oh, no question.
And if you want further proof of how great he was as a drummer, watch the drum battle with him and James Hetfield in 1992 in San Diego. So that's my list. So recap of the top 10. At number 10, it was tied. Death, Scream, Bloody Gore, and Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness. Number 9, Bathory, Under the Sign of Black Mark, and Motorhead, Ace of Spades. 8, Merciful Fate, Don't Break the Oath, and Megadeth, Peace Sells, But Who's Buying. Number 7, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, and Dio, Holy Diver. Number 6, Ozzy, Blizzard of Oz. 5, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. 4, AC/DC, Back in Black. 3, Slayer, Rain and Blood. 2, Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast. Even though I prefer Seventh Son more. And number 1, Metallica, Master of Puppets. The floor is yours, Hannah.
Then allow me to go next.
Oh, okay.
Then allow me to go next, since most of my list has kind of been spoiled. Okay, at number 10, I had to make the first of 7 ties here on my list. The thrash metal elite, so to say. And I went completely Big 4 on it. I went Raining Blood. I went with Among the Living by Anthrax, and I do enjoy that album a lot. Peace Sells. And the Metallica album, I did not go with Master of Puppets.
Ride the Lightning.
I went with Ride the Lightning. I mean, personally, I love Master of Puppets, but Ride the Lightning had the bigger impact in me as a fan. I mean, Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, possibly one of their darkest songs, and it's almost kind of a ballad. Not Dyer's Eve, but all of those songs from Trapped Under Ice, Creeping Death, which is an all-time classic. I mean, that's why I went with Ride the Lightning. Number 9. Sorry, Ricky. I also went with Back in Black, and I own Back in Black. I mean, I don't need to say anything else. I still say when I went to that show and I saw the bell coming down, I almost fainted because I saw that possibly for the first and only time. Because when they went with Axl Rose, there was no bell. There was no bell, but except on the movie display.
Mm-hmm.
Number 8. I went with Ace of Spades. And I'm shocked that nobody mentioned this album. Denim and Letter.
Saxon.
All together.
Saxon!
Yes.
Damn it.
I keep saying all the time.
Damn.
Saxon, one of the most underappreciated and underrated bands of the new album genre. And I easily could have put here Strong Arm of the Law. But Denim and Leather to me is better.
The song Denim and Leather alone, a big anthem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, and even when the bands played on, which was their tributes to their first show, Donington.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7. Ironically, I went with a death metal trilogy, so to say. Yes, I went with Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel. Pun very much intended. I went with Seven Churches as well.
Go ahead.
Leprosy by Death. I mean, Scream Bloody Gore is fantastic, no question about it. But I just love Leprosy a whole lot better. If not for Leprosy, Pull the Plug, most of that entire album is one similar masterpiece. Scream Bloody Gore, I could listen to it as well. But give me Leprosy above Scream Bloody Gore anytime. Now I'm going to kill Germany, so to say. My Halloween Trinity. The two Keeper of the Seven Keys, obviously. And the album that influenced a certain demigod, a certain Le Champion.
Walls of Jericho.
Walls of Jericho. And I regret to this day when I made my power metal list not to include Walls of Jericho. And I love that album, especially with Ride the Sky, Judas, and had so many hell of a songs there.
I become mad. Judas and
Judas.
You know what, real quick? Speaking of with Walls of Jericho, you know it's a good companion album to put next to it? In terms of sound and style, Spreading the Disease by Anthrax. They're so similar in tone, and production, and even on the vocal level, they're kind of close.
Yeah. Number 5, has already been mentioned. Holy Diver by Dio, and of course, Heaven and Hell. That I could easily put here Mob Rules as well. My black metal, so to say, Trinity as well. Under the Sign of the Black Mark, obviously. To Megatherion. And I'm shocked nobody mentioned this. Lay down your souls to the gods, rock and roll!
I mentioned it in honorable mentions. I mentioned black metal.
Oh yeah, you did.
It's in my
you're
list.
Right. You did. My number 3, spoiled already. Abigail by King Diamond, and Don't Break the Oath by Merciful Fate. Number 2 has already been mentioned. Screaming for Vengeance by Judas Priest. Number 1, you could guess it. Eddie's, which one it is?
Power Slave.
Power Slave. 1984, baby. Power Slave.
Tell me why I have to be a
I mean-
power slave.
Easily that I could discard a lot of songs from Number of the Beast. Not that one, okay. But at least with Power Slave I can only discard one. Back in the Village, but the rest. Aces High, Flesh of the Blade, Lucifer Aura, 2 minutes to Midnight, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Power Slave itself. I always say, and I'll say from here to eternity, if you want to start with Maiden, don't start with Number of the Beast. Start with either Peace of Mind, Power Slave, or even Somewhere in Time. Then go first to the Paul Diano era, and later, much later, go to Number of the Beast. But that's it. Number 10, Ride the Lightning, Raining Blood, Among the Living, and Peace Cells. Number 9, Back in Black. Number 8, Ace of Spades by Motorhead and Denim and Leather by Saxon. Number 7, Altars of Madness by Morbid Angel, Death Leprosy, and Seven Churches by Possessed. Number 6, Walls of Le Champion and Keeper of the Seven Keys 1 and 2 by Halloween. Number 5, Holy Diver by Dio and Heaven and Hell by Sabbath. Number 4, Black Metal by Venom, Megatherion, and Under the Sign of the Black Mark. Number 3, Abigail and Don't Break the Oath. Number 2, Screaming for Vengeance. Number 1, Power Slave.
Hannah.
Well, I think you missed a part of my honorable mention list, and I wanted to know that on my honorable mention list I have Death, Leprosy, Autopsy, Savage Survivor, Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness, and Possessed Seven Churches, but none of them made it on the list.
I thought
I
Leprosy was going to make it, but I don't know.
Death metal and Hannah are something that's
It's a
you
rare
know-
hybrid. It's like it's like me with an asthma.
It's still trying to gel. It's still trying to gel.
We'll get it to work someday, damn it.
I mean, I like my Entomb, but the Florida Thrash, Florida Death, I don't know. But onto my actual list. On my number 10, I actually have 3 albums because I just couldn't decide which albums I would choose from this band. Candlemass, Ancient Dreams, Epicus, Domicus, Metallicus, and Nightfall. In my opinion, the 3 best Candlemass albums. Yeah, I mean, on Ancient Dreams, you have Mirror Mirror.
Yeah, and the
so
Black
many
Sabbath
other-
medley, too.
Yeah,
And Ancient Dreams itself.
Yeah, and so many awesome songs. Bells of Acheron, Epistle number 81, and my God, I mean, I like the entire album. Same goes for Epicus. I mean, obviously with Solitude, I love Solitude, but also Under the Yoke and Sorcerer's Pledge and whatever, Crystal Ball, and then Nightfall. I mean, The Well of Souls.
Yes.
Oh,
Bewitched.
oh my God.
That
Bewitched.
song, that song, Well
I
of Souls
bind
at night.
unto myself today the strong enough in the
Now y'all making me not have any cattle mass on my collection.
Same here. I'm gonna get those first 3 soon.
Stay
And
with me.
I mean, I don't really care which singer they ever had. Most of their singers were great. But Messiah Macaulay and
Yes.
the one. Oh,
He's the one.
oh,
Yep.
oh. I
Who's
mean,
the one that-
I've seen Candlemass live, and it was just so awesome when they started playing Solitude.
Although
Wait,
going back to Johan, the first vocalist here on this
Yeah, I saw them
on
with
this new album
Johan.
was great.
Yeah, I saw them with Johan, and he and Solitude. Oh my God.
Which,
Oh
which,
my
which, by the way, Solo Sun did a great ass cover of Solitude on their debut. Oh man, I thought it was like
I
so
have to
good.
listen to that one later.
Mhm.
Oceans
It's
of
a good
Slumber
song.
as well did a solid cover of Solitude as well.
But I mean, Candlemass. I mean, oh my God. I mean, a lot of doom bands from that decade, like Trouble and Saint Vitus.
I
Trouble,
forgot
that's
Saint
another
Vitus.
Another band.
I forgot.
Witchfinder General.
And Pentagon,
Witchfinder General.
Pentagram,
Oh.
and Witchfinders General and Angel Witch and so on. They were kind of playing this more traditional doom, and then Candlemass came along, and it got epic. It got epic as fuck, and that's what I like about Candlemass. They weren't so much about simplicity, but about a full-on bloody. Oh,
I
epic.
forgot.
It's on the name of the first.
I completely forgot.
It's on the name of the first album, Epicus Doomicus Metallicus.
Yes, and that's why
Epic
the music sounded. It
doom
was
metal.
big. It was just big, and that's why I love it so much.
I completely forgot about Saint Vitus and Trouble for honorable mentions. If I had to choose albums from them real quick, the self-titled debut
Psalm
from Saint
9.
Vitus
Yeah,
and
Psalm
Psalm 9.
9.
Or the Skull. The Skull's a good
Looks
song,
like-
but Psalm 9.
Looks like we found our next band to do. Candlemass.
Yeah,
Oh.
but continue.
Which
Well,
one?
and then onto number 9. 9. Nobody has this on their list, and I'm sure of that. Ministry. The mind is a terrible thing to taste.
Oh.
And that just reminded me of another album we all forgot about too.
You got us there.
Street Cleaner.
She got us there.
Yeah.
That's true. Fucking hell.
I mean, I could have chosen The Land of Rape and Honey, but I personally prefer The Mind is a Terrible Thing to Taste
Yep.
more because it got more metal elements on there. And I mean, there are classics on there like Thieves. And that one is amazing live. I mean, Ministry, for me, one of the best live bands ever. And this album, there are so many fucking fantastic songs on here, and it sounds fresh and was completely different than a lot of the music that came out in the 80s. I mean, you could also argue for a bit 9 Inch Nails, their first album, but for me, Ministry is the better one, and that's why it's on number 9. On to number 8. I also have the first tie on my list on here. I mean, if you exclude Candlemass, two albums that were very important for the development of power metal. The first one is Sabotage, Hall of the Mountain King.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, it's still so listenable and so fresh. And I mean, the title track, and I'm a big fan of The Price You Pay. I love that riff on there. And
White
the vocal
Witch.
performance.
Oh my god, White Witch.
Yeah, and that one as well. But I mean, those 3 songs follow after another on the album. Hall of the Mountain King, The Price You Pay, and White Witch. So fucking fantastic.
Rest in
To
peace,
listen
Chris
to
Oliva.
those
Oh, yes.
3 songs. And then the other one that is on number 8. I mean, Le Champion. Walls of Jericho by Halloween. For me, their finest work. I mean, I like Keeper of the Seven Keys, both albums, but because Kai Hansen is actually singing on Walls of Jericho, I really like that, and it's a bit more aggressive, a bit harder. It's faster than your typical Halloween albums.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ride the Sky for that one alone, or Gorga. I love Gorga. It's such
Heavy metal.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Heavy metal is the law.
yeah, there are so many awesome songs in here. It's just a fantastic album, and very important for the development of power metal and speed metal and so on. And then on my number 7, it's probably a bit low on the list, but there were other albums that had to be higher. Venom, Welcome to Hell.
Oh.
I personally,
went more with black metal, but
personally, I like black metal, especially because it termed the genre. But I mean, Welcome to Hell, I just like some of the songs on here more than songs from black metal. I mean, you have Welcome to Hell on here, and In League with Satan, Witching Hour, and so on.
yes.
In League with Satan.
And I just-
1,000
and
Days
that's-
in Sodom.
It's such a simple song. Even with the drums, they look so
Yeah.
tribal.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I mean, the way the vocals are delivered on this album was something different.
Yeah, the production on
everything
the
else that
vocals
was
was
going on here.
interesting.
Everything is raw, the vocals especially, and it's kind of primitive at some moments, very different from the polished stuff that was coming out at that time, kind of polished stuff, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. I mean, black metal obviously took it a step further, but I like Welcome to Hell a bit more, especially because of the cover with the pentagram and the goat. I mean,
The goat.
Other bands, a lot of bands would copy the goat later on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And fun fact about the song "1,000 Days in Sodom" is that back in '94, Abaddon got together with Tom from Sodom and Mila from Creator to jam that song together, and it's a fun jam. If you could look it up on YouTube, you can. Also has the interviews with Tom, Mila, and Abaddon together, and it was a fun cover. And even Sodom themselves did a great cover with Abaddon playing drums, but their guitarist Andy Brings on guitar, and this was 93 as well.
Mm-hmm. But again, I mean, that iconic goat cover, I mean, who in the hell said it got inspired by them? I mean, can somebody please tell me who in the hell got inspired by them?
Yeah, but I mean, in all honesty, the Bathory one looks better.
Yeah, it does.
Venom.
Yeah, it does, but come on.
Yeah, well, from black metal more to some classic heavy metal. On my number 6, I have another tie. Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. I mean, Hellion, Electric Eyes on there, my favorite Priest song, and so many other awesome songs. Screaming for Vengeance, Riding on the Wind, You've Got Another Thing Coming, and so on. I mean, Defenders of Faith, probably a close follow-up, but I prefer Screaming for Vengeance. And it's just such a perfect album. And then also on number 6, I have Dio, Holy Diver. It's just awesome. I mean, for Holy Diver alone and Don't Talk to Strangers, Rainbow in the Dark, everything that's on here, it's a perfect album. And I prefer that over Heaven and Hell. I mean, Heaven and Hell is awesome. But, I mean, if you ask me what's my favorite album with Ronnie James Dio on vocals, I would head to the 70s, actually, in favor of either Heaven and Hell and Holy Diver. Probably, I would talk about it during the 70s episode we are doing at one point. Yeah, from one tie to another, but...
I'm guessing which one it is. It has a little bit of a rainbow, isn't it?
Obviously. And from classic heavy metal to thrash metal, on my number 5, I have, first and foremost, Slayer, Rain in Blood on here. It's just a perfect album opener with Angel of Death. And then everything finishes with Raining Blood. Just such a perfect, aggressive little album. Classic, obviously. And one of my favorite Slayer albums out of the 80s. In the 90s, I mean, you know which one my favorite is. And also on number 5, I have something from Germany. I had to talk about, if I talk about the American thrash scene, I have to talk about the German thrash scene. And so, Creator, Pleasure to Kill.
Yep.
Could have gone for Agent Orange or Endless Pain, even by Creator themselves. But I think the most iconic one they have ever released, at least in the 80s, is just Pleasure to Kill. And it's so fucking aggressive. And I just... think it's still fresh to this day, and there are awesome songs on here. A bit more aggressive, I think, than most American bands at that time. Probably at the same level of Slayer, maybe even a bit more aggressive. But I mean, awesome album. And then on my number 4, sorry, Ricky, Back in Black.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many reasons why this album is awesome. I don't really have to talk about it except Hellspells, Shoot to Thrill. Let me put my love into you. Back in Black, You Shook Me All Night Long.
Have a Drink
Rock
on
and
Me.
Roll. Yeah, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. It's just such a classic and iconic album. Had to be there. And then on my number 3, this is probably like the Nightside Eclipse of the 80s. still an album that is revolutionary and well ahead of its time. To Megatherion by Celtic Frost. Just the whole production, how big it sounds, in combination with the riffs and the kind of influence of classical music and everything. For me, it still feels like an album out of time at that era, and still out of time today, because it's just so revolutionary. And I mean, everything on this album, from the Usurper to Necromantica Screams, it's just so perfect. And this riff that appears every now and then, it's just so epic. I just love this album. And then on to my number 2, the 2 biggest bands of the decade. I don't know which one is bigger for me, and that's why I simply put them on the same, both are number 2. Obviously, I have to talk about Metallica. And I mean, Master of Puppets could have been here, but as a whole album, I prefer Ride the Lightning over Master of Puppets. Yeah, that's just the way it is. I mean, I also like Injustice 4. Those are like my 3 favorite Metallica albums, but as a whole album, Ride the Lightning is my favorite, despite the awesome songs on both other albums. But I think just the way it starts with Fight Fire with Fire, and then transitions into Ride the Lightning, and then For Whom the Bell Tolls that follows right afterwards, is just so fucking perfect. And then Fade to Black, a kind of ballad in the middle of this album, on a thrash metal record, is just awesome. And the other album on my number 2, well, if there's Metallica, there has to be Maiden. And it's not Power Slave, it's not Number of the Beast. My favorite Maiden album is Somewhere in Time.
Alexander the Great.
Yes.
Screw that. Give me Sea of Madness. Deja Vu. Give me Sea of Madness. Deja Vu.
I like that album. I like that album from start to finish. I mean, it's obviously a bit controversial because they started including keyboards and so on.
Yeah, and I mean, Stranger in a Strange Land, which is my favorite song off of that album.
Oh, that one used to be my my ringtone for quite a while. I mean, I like this album. For me, there isn't a bad song on here. Obviously, there are other strong albums out of the 80s from Maiden especially. But, I mean, for me, Somewhere in Time will always hold a special place in my heart. And that's why it's on number 2. And on number 1, yeah, well...
Okay, okay, there is one album that she hasn't mentioned, which I hope it's the one I think it is.
And what do you think it is?
Knowing You. Blood, Fire, Death.
Obviously.
Yes.
I mean, obviously, there it is. Obviously, with Bathory, a lot of people go for the 3 original trilogy, Bathory, The Return, and Under the Sign of the Black Mark. But I mean, while I respect those albums and while I like those albums to a certain degree, my number 1 album out of the 80s from Bathory is simply Blood, Fire, Death, because it was just so revolutionary at the time, and headed in this kind of direction that Bathory would later be known for, this whole Viking metal direction, especially on songs like A Fine Day to Die. I mean,
and the title track.
Song alone, that song alone, it was just well ahead of its time. And I personally, if you ask me, I prefer the 90s over the 80s because everything just got so diverse. Concerning
epic.
the small, concerning the small genres within metal, and that's why what I like most about metal is just this diversity within the music. I mean, you have very crazy stuff like prog death metal on one hand, and then epic doom and whatever, and folky stuff, and all that stuff got big after the 80s. And this album was one album that kind of was foreshadowing everything that was going to happen later in the 90s and in the 2000s. And I mean, A Fine Day to Die is just, I mean, it's on the same level as a song like Hammerheart. The storytelling and the instrumentation is just so futuristic when looking back at the 80s, and on other songs like Blood, Fire, Death as well. And I mean, there's so many awesome songs on this album, and for me, it's as somebody who likes the future developments within metal, it's just so listenable, this album, and just simply my favorite song favorite album out of Bathory's 80s discography. And I mean, when Emperor played A Fine Day to Die at Wacken, and I was in the front row, that was so amazing and epic. I mean, the only thing that could have been better is that they should have played during the night.
I was about to ask you that. Was this the one that played in the afternoon?
Yeah, it was in the Dayside Eclipse. They announced it as the Dayside Eclipse.
And actually, real quick,
no joke.
Yeah, and real quick, if I could pitch in a little bit with Blood, Fire, Death. Like, the other thing, it's like, yeah, it had the hints of what they would become starting with Hammerheart. Most of that album, if you ask me, more thrashy than the first three.
Yeah.
Like, very, very thrashy. Like, songs like Pace Till Death, Holocaust, Dies Irae, especially.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very thrashy for Bathory standards.
It has a bit of everything on here, a bit of the original black metal, a bit of
the
thrash
Viking,
metal,
and a bit of thrash,
Yeah, but the reason why I like this so much is the Viking stuff. And I mean, it was so important for the later developments of black metal and all the little subgenres of metal and the related genres. That's why I like it so much.
Black and folk, black and thrash, even black and death, black and doom,
even folk metal in general.
Folk metal, yeah.
I mean, basically everything within the more aggressive genres of metal,
you could even argue death thrash kind of got a little bit of hints from this album with the thrashier tunes.
I mean, a lot of bands state that they were influenced by Bathory at one point, and a lot of artists that I listened to
even Drowning Pool was influenced by Bathory early on. Which
I mean, who wasn't?
Even though that's a completely different style of music, they were Bathory fans,
and that's why I value this album so much. And it for me, it was without doubt the number one. So. Quick recap. Number 10, Candlemass with recap. Oh my vocabulary is so screwed up today.
I think everybody's is. Let's be perfectly honest.
Yes,
but continue.
Well, number 10, Candlemass, Nightfall, Epicus, Dumicus, Metallicus, and Ancient Dreams. Number 9, Ministry. The mind is a terrible thing to taste, my dear children. Number 8, Sabotage, The Hall of the Mountain King, and Halloween, Walls of Jericho, obviously including Les Champions. Then, number 7, Venom, Welcome to Hell, Beware of the Goats, my children. Number 6, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance. Yeah, I will scream for vengeance. Then, Dio, Holy Diver. Number 5, Slayer, Rain in Blood. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to be. And Creator, Pleasure to Kill. Very violent, those album titles. Number 4,
violence.
AC/DC, Back in Black. Every time I go back to school, I'm always back in black. Number 3, Celtic Frost to Megatherion. Number 2,
Eager, baby.
Yes, baby. Number 2, Metallica, Ride the Lightning, and Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time. Number 1, Bathory, Blood, Fire, Death. So graphic.
There will be.
And now, Ricky, the floor is yours.
Well, let's do this. My number 10, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. After Ozzy left the band, Black Sabbath was like, what are we gonna do? Is Black Sabbath gonna die? There was a lot of things unknown until one day this person from Rainbow called Ron and James Dio was like, you want to be in the band? Sure. And created one of the best comebacks albums out there, to the point that it even surpassed Blizzard of Oz on the Billboard charts.
I think you got the story wrong. It was Iomi who phoned Dio.
Well, yeah. It's too early for me, guys. But anyway, I mean, Heaven and Hell, me Turn to See, the title track, Neon Nights. You can make the same argument for Mob Rules, but Heaven and Hell gets the more love because it's the first one with Ronald James Dio.
The one that made the bigger impact and influence.
Yes.
Eddie Trunk's favorite album of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, that would be UFO Stranger
No,
in the Night.
My number 9999999 is a tie. My death metal time. I have Possessed, Seven Churches, and of course, Death, Scream, Bloody Gore. There's always this been debate of who did first, the first death metal album with Scream Bloody Gore or Seven Churches. Personally, I think it's Seven Churches, but in terms of influential, Scream Bloody Gore gets the banner broad, but come on,
And
those gruesome lyrics.
And the sound.
Those gruesome lyrics for both of their respective albums. I mean, for Seven Churches, you start out with The Exorcist, probably one of my favorite Possessed songs of all time. You have the title track. You have freaking Fallen Angel. Oh god, those are good tracks. Or Scream Bloody Gore, you have Evil Dead.
Yes.
That alone, for me, Evil Dead. Especially with my username, I mean, it's kind of obvious.
And also, given with Death on that song, they were melodic death metal before melodic death metal existed. Because of that solo at the beginning.
Yeah, yes.
And also, when you would describe the brutal lyrics, nothing screams more brutal than the opening lyric on the song, the title track, "Decapitated head licking your cunt." Enough said.
Oh yeah.
And I'm guessing that Bruce Campbell might be a metal fan because his whole movie series is Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm. My number 8. Yep. I have a tie, and it's a battery tie. I have
boy!
Under the Sign of the Black Mark and Blood, Fire. Yes.
You cheeky bastard.
Now,
Continue.
You
Now-
wank pheasant.
now, if you would ask me what's my favorite battery of all time, Under the Sign Blood always takes the cake. Nothing against the return, nothing against the debut, nothing against Blood Rider, but for me, this is battery at its best. I mean, you have Nocturnal Darkness, Massacre, Woman of Dark Desires, Children of the Grave. No, not Children of the Grave. Call from the Grave. Call from the Grave. English motherfucker. English motherfucker. But to me, the one song, Enter the Eternal Fire, a thunderous, quasi-doom black metal song. Ugh. And with Blood, Fire, Death, at first, when I was beginning my Bass research, I was never big into the Viking thing. It wasn't until miraculously, months later, this came in my mailbox and I got more into it that I began to appreciate what Cortland was trying to do at the time. I mean, come on. The title track alone at the very end of the freaking lyrics. I mean, come on. How epic can you do with this? I mean, come on. With, where is it? Where is it? Children of all slaves, unite the proud, rise of the darkness and pain. A chariot of thunder and gold will come loud, and a warrior with thunder and rain. With hair as white as snow, hammer of steel to set you free of all chains. And to lead you all where heroes were free, and the souls of your ancient ones reign. Oh, come on. One of the most epic closers I've ever heard in my life, next to probably O Father, O Satan, O Son. Get some bastard in your life, please. Number 7, Venom, black metal. Talk about the ghost here that inspired Quarthon.
Even though he would never admit it.
Even though he would never admit it. Come on.
Not anymore.
I mean, the title track. I mean, come on. The entire album is one of the most influential black metal albums of all time. You can go to a step further that we even Welcome to Hell is up there, but to me, black metal is always the one when I'm listening to Venom.
And I guess that Countess Bathory is also from black
yes.
metal.
Yes, it is. My number 6, Judas Priest. And which Judas Priest song do you think I want to talk about? It ain't Human for Vengeance. It ain't British Steel.
Oh, I thought it was.
Defenders
I thought it was gonna be British Steel.
My favorite Priest of all time, Defenders of the fucking
just
Fate.
to be a contrarian pheasant. I was thinking that Ricky was going to say Turbo Lover.
I don't like Turbo Lover. We've talked about Turbo Lover. It's a great album in its own right, but for me, this right here is what made Judas Priest what they are today. I mean, come on, Free Will Burning, Jawbreaker,
yes,
The Sentinel. Hits are gonna roll, and as much as the Rick Hard doesn't like it, Heavy Duty, Rhythm of the Fate, I like those fucking tracks so much.
Rock Hard, Ride Free is one of the best.
Even the bonus song, Turn On Your Light, which I don't know why it was cut off from the original recordings. It's a great song, a great ballad.
And you know what? In the dead of night, love bites.
And Love Bites, yes. I mean, and that album cover, come on, futuristic robotic coming from time to kick your ass.
Combine that with the metallic Hellion.
Now, the top 5. It's another tie, my glam metal tie, if you will.
Oh, yes.
Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. That's one of them. For me, when it comes to Twisted Sister, that's the one I always go to. I mean, come on, you got the classics, I Wanna Rock, The Price, We're Not Gonna Take It. Come on, how many
Burn
times
in Hell.
People... Burn in Hell, which Dimmu Borgir later did a cover of, which was okay, but I prefer the original.
Screw that. I love the Borgir cover.
I mean, despite how we feel about Dee Snider nowadays being kind of a dumbass, but...
And
Razorfist Shameless plug.
And the other one, which Artur kind of Levi briefly mentioned at the beginning of the show, Metal Health Quiet Fucking Riot. Yep. The first metal album to go to number 1, beating Thriller and The Police at the top. How difficult will that be? In 1983, when you have Thriller, the best-selling album of all time, gets dethroned by Metal Health, by Quiet Riot? And this is during the time that freaking Billboard charts, record sales, CD sales
actually mattered, yeah.
And they meant something. I mean, to a point, Eddie Trunk will say when he used to work at a record shop, that people will... The record shop would fly off the shelves, and whenever some people would say, "Oh, you need the Metal Health album? Don't come here. I'll be here on the counter," because it was a good album. I mean, you have freaking songs, Mental Health, Come On, Feel the Noise.
Call one of the greatest cover songs of all time.
Which Kevin DuBrow hated.
They all hated the idea.
They all hated it.
But the producer told them, well, you got to do it. I'm sorry.
That's why when Kevin DuBrow sang the song, he said it with so much anger that it came out for the better.
And unfortunately...
And it turned out to be the best thing for them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately now, only 2 members of Quiet Riot are alive today. Guitar player Carlos Canvazzo
and Rudy Sarzo. Yeah, rest in peace, Frankie Banali and Kevin DuBrow.
And even Thunderbird, one of the greatest ballads dedicated to now Randy Rhoads at the time who passed away. Now it's dedicated to both Randy, Kevin, and Frankie. Rest in peace.
Let's not forget, Rudy played with Randy Rhoads with Ozzy Osbourne.
Yes. And I forget also Chuck Wright, which a lot of people can forget it. If you see the Quiet Riot documentary, he played bass on the album.
Yeah.
Number 4, Iron Maiden. Now, for Iron Maiden, this is really hard to choose because all of the 80s albums are great. I was almost gonna go with Stranger Strangeland, but I went the obvious choice. The number of the Beast.
Oh, thank God. I don't have to make a Maiden poll now.
Not gonna do it.
And as much as Artur hates it, Artur, I love you, but Children of the Damned fucking rocks. I mean,
Time out. I don't hate the entirety of the album. I just hate most of their songs.
Well, I know. I know you don't like Children of the Damned for obvious reasons. You've tried a long time ago, but come on, it's a great album. Gangland's underrated. Run to the Hills, The Number of the Beast, great albums. Hallowed be thy name.
22 Acacia Avenue is more underrated than Gangland.
I'd say The Prisoner is the most underrated out of it all.
No. Total Eclipse is the most underrated.
That is a great one, too.
That is a great one. Number 3. Rain in. I mean, what? When you start off,
I think I broke Ricky. It's like a circus song
that
now.
Would be something.
Compose yourself, motherfucker.
That would be something.
But when you start off an album with probably one of the most brutal songs of all time, Angel of
and
Death.
Controversial.
Yes.
And controversial. Auschwitz, The Minute of Pain, The Way That I Want You to Die.
Yes.
Oh, come on. So fucking good. Even piece of beep. Speak, motherfucker. Speak, motherfucker. Piece by piece. Necrophobic. Ultra Sacrifice. Raining Blood. What more can you want from this album? And to think that we're doing
you want album endings? Hallowed Be Thy Name is right next to Raining Blood.
Yeah. And to think that we're doing this episode on the anniversary of Jeff Hanneman's passing. So rest in peace, Jeff Hanneman, for giving us this fucking masterpiece of an album.
Yes.
Number 2. Obey your master. Master. I could have gone with Ride the Lightning. I could have gone with Kill 'Em All. But I had to go with my favorite talk album of all time, Master of Puppets. What more is there to say? Number 1. It was obvious I was gonna have this one on my number 1.
Back in Black.
if you had a betting against somebody, say this is number 1, they would have been a billionaire, a trillionaire by now. Back in Black. My favorite album of all time. And to think that AC/DC almost didn't continue after the death of Bon Scott. It took them 2 months to find a replacement in Brian Johnson, which at the time was very controversial because you had your lead singer die and then replace him right away 2 months later. A lot of people thought they got a lot of hate for it. But oh my God, they went to the Bahamas and recorded this masterpiece. The defining album of the 80s, which to me, if I could tattoo myself, one thing would be Back in Black in my arm. Because it is my favorite album of all time. Hell's Bells.
I would recommend The Bell for tattoo.
yeah, mostly, but Hell's Bells. Come on. Shoot the thrill. What do you do for money, honey? Giving the dog a bone. Let me put my love into you. Back in Black. Shook me not long. Shake me a leg. Have a drink on me. Rock and Roll Knows Pollution. Every single song of this album is a hit. Classic radio hits to this day that are turned on to the 1,000. Get it. Worship it. Love it.
And hey, you can get it at Walmart for $5 or $7, so it's cheap.
Yes. And it's the second best-selling album of all time next to Thriller.
Mm-hmm.
So again, recap. Number 10, Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell. Number 9, Dead Scream Bloody Gore with Possessed 7 Churches. Number 8, Bastillery, Under the Sign of the Black Mark with Bloodfire Death. Number 7, Venom Black Metal. Number 6, Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith. Number 5, Quiet Riot, Metal Health with Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. Number 4, Maiden with The Number of the Beast. 3, Slayer, Rain and Blood. 2, Metallica, Master of Puppets. And number 1, Back in Black, AC/DC.
All right, and now the real challenge begins, constructing the final 10.
Oh, boy.
Fucking hell.
And we got a lot of the same bands, but some of them were different albums. However, before we say anything, I did run a poll on Twitch a little while ago for people to decide between Ride the Lightning or Master of Puppets. It's Master of Puppets to them, so... So Master of
I
Puppets
don't
will go
mind.
on there.
Now,
Now
I can go there.
Yeah, we're gonna have Master of Puppets, but how are we gonna determine number 1 to number 10?
I know how are we gonna put in order?
Or do we want to start from the bottom up?
Yeah, I'd say we'll start from the bottom
Yes.
up. I'd say for the bottom first, I'd say we start with Death.
Oh yeah. Scream Bloody Gore. Or Leprosy?
Mindfulness Wolf, thank you for following on Twitch. Yeah, Scream Bloody Gore, because
Leprosy.
yeah, because Hannah had Leprosy and honorable
Leprosy.
mentions. Artur had in the list, but then Ricky and I had it in Scream Bloody on the list. So
I could make a compromise for another album. 7 Churches. We all had 7 Churches.
I had an honorable mentions though.
I added. So I think it would be better if we have Scream Bloody Gore at number 10.
Yeah, because I want to avoid doing too many ties on the final top 10.
Sure.
So yeah, let's say
Alright.
Scream Bloody Gore, just because out of those two, between 7 Churches and Scream was the perfection of death metal.
Okay, number 9.
Sabotage.
Ace of
Sword of the
Spades.
Mountain King.
Ace of Spades.
I could go with
We
Ace
all
of
had
Spades.
Ace of Spades.
Yeah, we all did have Ace of Spades.
We could give it to Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
Or do you think?
Holy Diver.
I was thinking putting Heaven and Hell higher.
Yeah, I was gonna say Heaven and Hell higher.
I'd say we put Holy Diver at 9, and then 8,
Or
Ace of Spades 8.
Holy Diver at 9 and 8. We give it to Ace of Spades.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, for 7, do we want to go?
Celtic Frost to
Do we want to go?
Megatherion.
Do we want to go? Do we want to go Ozzy? Do we want to go Venom? What about for number 7?
Okay.
How about we go Bathroom?
Bathory? We could go by Bathory.
I would put them higher.
I would put them at least 5 or 6. And I guess
let's
based
see,
off
what,
of
what else did we mention?
Yeah,
Celtic
else?
Frost. Celtic
To
Frost.
Megatherion, yeah, we all had to Megatherion on the list.
I didn't
well, I
mention
had it in honorable
Megatherion.
mentions.
But I had it on number 3 and Artur, I don't know where.
That's
Number
true.
4.
Fucking
Celtic Frost. Put it there, Ricky. I know you want to do it.
I didn't have it, but if I would go with Celtic Frost, even though it's an EP, I'll go with.
What's your
Mortal
compromise?
Tales.
Celtic Frost.
To Megatherion.
Yes. Put it there, please, Ricky, please.
But then again, Ricky has to compromise on another thing. So, what is it?
You know what? To Megatherion.
At number 7.
Yeah, to Megatherion.
And then number 6, Under the Sign of the Black Mark.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I think the top 5, we know what the 5 is. It's just determining the order now.
Heaven and Hell?
Okay. For sure, the top 5 will have to be something with Maiden, something with Priest.
Maiden, Priest, Metallica, AC/DC, Slayer.
Okay. So what could be number 1? No, let's start from the bottom. A bit better.
Yeah, number 5, I'd go with Priest 5.
But what?
Screaming.
Screaming for vengeance.
Yeah, let's go with Screaming. I'm the only one at Defenders, so yeah. Screaming for vengeance.
You know what? I'll help you out, Ricky. I'll put AC/DC 3 and put Slayer 4.
Whoa!
Whoa! I was gonna say, I'm fine with AC/DC at 4, but over Rain in Blood,
Yeah, that's a bit too much.
that's a bit too much even for me.
So number 3, number 3, Back in Black. Number 4, Raining Blood.
I was gonna say 4 Back in Black, 3 Rain in Blood.
That's what I said.
You said the way around.
Okay.
So
we're just
Back in Black-
opposite everything today. All right, if we're gonna have a tie, I would put Heaven and Hell tied with Holy Diver at 9.
Yeah.
That'd be the one tie we can do because we do need Heaven and Hell in the list.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, number 1 and number 2. This is where it's gonna be.
Yeah, because it's between Maiden and Metallica, but oh man.
For sure, we know Metallica's gonna be master.
Well, I think
But
for Maiden, it'd have to be number because you and I had in the list where it was different the other way around.
But
Because number was... I know that's going to kill Artur, but Ricky and I had number where everybody else had something different. You've been outvoted.
I know.
but how are we gonna do this?
Yeah. How about let's
this
run
is
a
the
poll. I'll run a poll.
Then allow me to screw you all. Master number 2, number 1, number of the beast. No Maiden, no Metallica.
Oh my god!
Which album should
I'm such a
be
bastard.
number 1? Master of Puppets or Number of the Beast?
Oh, that's going to cause a riot. Thriller.
Oh man!
So you guys who are watching on Twitch got less than 2 minutes to vote. Oh dear Lord. Yeah, because I knew it would come down to this because, like I said, Maiden and Metallica were the 2 best bands of the decade and defined the decade.
That's why I put them on the same spot.
Yeah. Holy
Fucking
shit.
hell!
Alright, currently Number of the Beast is winning. Still got time, though.
666, the number of the beast.
Hell!
And fire
prefer-
will surely be released.
Released.
I prefer something like I'm waiting in my
cold
cell.
cell when the bell begins to shine. You know
Oh,
what?
yeah.
You know what? Just because of Halloween that name, the Beast are number 1.
Well, let's wait. The poll's
Exactly
halfway
what I
through. The
said.
poll is halfway through. It's still Number of the Beast winning right now. So, but things could change on
Number
a
of the
dime.
beast stays.
Well, it
Just
depends.
Number of the beast number
Maiden
1.
on top.
Well, it depends what the poll says. Probably could overrule the poll, like you did, Levi. You overruled
Objection
a poll.
No, I
overruled.
didn't.
But
Yes,
I'm
you did.
looking,
One
Levi, I'm
time
looking
I did.
forward.
One time, but even at that, it still won no matter what happened.
But Levi, I'm looking forward to your review of the new Panopticon album.
Over on the Shadow Cult channel from here
Which
on out.
I need
Oh!
to listen to Gojira tonight.
It's tied right now. It's tied, and I
Oh,
didn't even press
fucking
anything.
hell.
I didn't press anything. We literally have a tie right now, but there's still time. Watch, it's gonna end in a tie, for fuck's sake. And the poll is closing
Like I said.
in 3, 2, 1. Yep, they tied.
Fuck.
I'm
Son of
gonna
a
have to run it
bee.
again. I'm gonna have to run the poll one more time.
Just put
No,
Maiden on number
I'm
1.
go-
Yeah,
I'm
let's
go-
go Maiden
Maiden-
number 1.
Who
Maiden
votes
number
for
1.
Maiden 1,
Me.
Metallica
Maiden
2.
1. Maiden 1. Master
Hold your
2.
horses, people.
Is this the most we ever debated here?
Probably.
I mean, we know this is gonna be hard, but motherfucking hard, man.
And so many, and,
People
and we're not going to
vote
put
one,
so many albums.
please.
And there are so many albums that we will not put on this list that we all had in common. Like
Yeah.
Ace of Spades, Walls of Jericho.
The Mountain
I-
King.
I saw
I know,
even Quiet,
it's difficult.
even Quiet Riot.
Yes,
It's like I
extremely.
mentioned. It's like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Every single album that we mentioned so far has the best argument of being the best
Exactly.
of the '80s.
Exactly.
True.
Just all comes down to, oh great, it's tied again, but hey, the poll just started,
Oh,
so
boy.
there's still time.
Fucking hell.
We still have time to see if we can get an undisputed winner. And just to prove
Out of cold, baby.
and just to prove I'm not fixing it, I got my hands right here on my face. I'm just watching.
Well,
We know you. You know, you sexual wank pheasant.
Hey, I only rigged it once, but even if I did the vote, it still won because other people voted for the same. This was weeks ago. That was when I was experimenting with the Twitch polls.
Now, can you imagine if Professor Papa would have been here?
Yes. Well, he would have
That
only
would've
he
been
would have only been
way-
on here for like 45 minutes, though.
Well,
And
yeah,
he would name some very obscure albums.
That's a
Yes.
name I haven't seen in the Twitch chat forever. Ex Rockerman X, my old high school buddy Andy. What's up? It's been forever.
if you haven't vote now.
Yes, we only got like probably like 20 seconds left. Vote.
Vote, 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 vote,
It's
vote,
still
vote,
tied
vote.
right now. Come on.
Come on, who's gonna win? If not, we're gonna overrule it.
Who's going to win? Who's going to win? The cheating Patriots.
And the winner is, come on.
Bambi.
It's Number of the Beast.
All right, Number of the Beast.
Number of the Beast 1, Master of Puppets 2.
Number of the Beast and Master.
666 is on number 1.
I mean, as I said, we're leaving so many albums that we had off this list, but this has to be our most difficult list ever.
Yeah.
Recap. Let's recap one more time. From number 1 to number 10. Number 1, Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast.
Wait. Maybe to add a little detail to tell them the years that they were released.
Oh, yeah. So, Number of the Beast was
Number
1982.
Of the Beast, 1982. Master of Puppets, Metallica, 1986.
Yes.
Slayer, Reign in Blood, number 3, 1986.
Yes.
Number 4, AC/DC, Back in Black, 1980.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5, Judas Priest, Screaming for Vengeance, 1982.
1982.
Number 6, Bastard, Under the Sun of the Black Mark, 1985?
7.
Yes.
To Make a Therion is from 1985.
Number 7, Celtic Frost, To Make a Therion, number 87. Number 8.
No. To Make a Therion, 1985.
All right. Number 8, Ace of Spades, Motorhead from 1980.
Right.
Number 9, we have a tie with Dio's Holy Diver in 1983 and Black Sabbath, Heaven and Hell,
1980.
And number 10, Death, Scream Bloody Gore, 1987.
There you go.
Is that everyone go with the list? Everyone go with the list?
Once,
Speak
twice.
now, forever hold your peace.
Sold.
Oh
my lord, what an episode.
I mean, look how many albums we left off the list.
Yeah.
We even left a lot of like Poison, a lot of Rat. We left a lot of Rat.
Motley, Def Leppard.
Merciful Fate.
Yeah. Merciful Fate.
Megadeth, Creator, Sepultura, Rush.
Even Abigail didn't make the top 10.
I know, right?
Which I thought I was going to be your number 1, Artur.
Are you kidding me? Against Power Slave?
Well, at least in the top 2.
No, I mean, Screaming for Vengeance had a... I mean, yeah. It's part of my... it's parts of the albums of my life list, which also includes Nightside Eclipse by Emperor, Nightfall in Middle-earth, and Back in Black, obviously, but... Shit. Yeah, but Four albums here are from the albums of my life list.
For me, there's 3 with Number of the Beast, Master, and Back in Black. God, I can't believe that was the first episode. What the hell? Holy shit!
Yeah,
toughest one. What's that? What's that mean from the comic book guy? Toughest list ever.
And you know what I want to. Oh, go ahead.
But this is the pain that we go through at times when we do our list, people.
Yes.
You think it is easy? You think it is easy? Hell no. Especially when a list as big and impactful as the 80s, there is no right or wrong answer here, folks.
Right. At least we keep our debates civil.
Yes. So I figured let's introduce the new segment on this show that I talked about last time. Our Throwdown. And I thought of a topic, just right off the top of my head. We're going to decide which of these 2 German thrash metal bands from top to bottom, from when they started to where they are now, is the best. Sodom or Creator? Let's begin with Artur.
Could you not put Destruction in the mist?
Okay, we'll put Destruction in there too to make it all 3 of them. All right, let's put Destruction in there.
I mean, Sodom has been consistent, but lately they have been somewhat disappointing. Creator released the 2 best albums
of all
decade. Time in the last decade with Phantom Antichrist and what
Gods
was it?
of
The other one,
Violence.
Gods of
Lots
Violence.
of violence.
Yes, but out of all the German thrash metal bands, I've always been a huge mark for Destruction, and Destruction, despite their somewhat inconsistency,
Yeah.
I'll go with Destruction.
Ricky?
I will go with Creator. I mean, because Creator to me has had one of the. I mean, not counting the '90s stuff, from the debut to Coma of Souls, probably one of the best ones. And then in the 2000s with Violent Revolution, when they began this modern sound, to me, Creator's always been consistently, except for the '90s.
Hannah?
Creator. I mean, I've seen most of the German big four thrash metal bands live, and Creator was just the best out of the bunch. And I mean, they've been consistent, except for a few albums in the 90s, and therefore I just prefer them over Sodom, Destruction, and Tankard.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the common themes.
I mean, nothing against Sodom or Tank or Destruction, but Creator to me has always been the one that leads the kind of the Metallica of the big four.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, you're leaving me to bite the bullet, huh? Alright, well, I'm going to analyze all three. So, Destruction, definitely the more underrated of the three, I would say. Yeah, Destruction should be given more respect. Yeah,
they're the Anthrax.
Yeah, they're like the Anthrax. No, Tankard would be the Anthrax.
Tankard is the Anthrax.
And the four, if it was four. But, like, yeah, I would say Destruction's like the Megadeth. Because they were the more technical of the three, of the four. Yeah, like Infernal Overkill, very raw. Eternal Devastation was great. Release from Agony was great. Cracked Brain.
The Mad Butcher.
Yeah. And then, yeah, they broke up for a while. And then most of the 2000s, early 2000s stuff, not that great. But then they picked it back up. Sodom, on the other hand, I would make a case in terms of the 80s that they were equal to Creator. Because, you know, in The Sign of Evil, Obsessed by Cruelty, Persecution Mania, Agent Orange. Whereas in Creator in the 80s, yeah, Endless Pain, Pleasure to Kill, Terrible Certainty, and Extreme Aggression, all great. 90s, I would say Sodom was the best out of all of them during the 90s, because they stayed more consistent. You know, Better Off Dead was more straight-up thrash, and then Tap in the Vein, more death thrash. Then they went through that crossover punky speed metal period in the mid-90s, but I liked that style. They kind of were going for a Motorhead style on Get What You Deserve. Masquerade and Blood, I like the heavier style. And then Till Death Do Us Unite went kind of coming back a little bit, but Code Red, whew. Whereas Creator, yeah, you start off with Coma of Souls, but then the rest of the decade, they went from industrial to gothic, and it just did not work. Then
you could say a little bit the same of Destruction, because in the 90s they only released two albums, Cracked Brain and least successful Human Cannonball, but it was later with 2000s All Hell Breaks Loose, The Antichrist, Inventor of Evil, and Metal Discharge, where they
came back,
picked back up, and strong.
And then the 2000s. Yeah, Sodom only had two albums out, M16 and their self-titled, but M16's such a classic, where their self-titled kind of underrated, but then you look at Creator, they came back strong with Violent Revolution, and then Enemy of God, Hordes of Chaos, and then in the last decade, yeah, Creator's been blowing them all out the water. Even though Sodom, I liked Genesis 19, Decision Day was good, and Epitome of Torture was solid, but In War and Pieces from Sodom in 2010 was their best of the past decade. But overall, when you balance everything out, I'm going to give it to Creator. Because, I mean, in the 80s, I could argue Sodom and Creator were equal. Even Destruction was equal. 90s, Sodom was by far and out the best band out of the four, along with Tankard. 2000s, it would be Creator, and then the past decade, Creator. So it all balances out to Creator.
Although in the 2000s, I'll make a strong argument that Creator and Destruction were equals in terms of epic albums.
That's true. Although, yeah, even though Sodom only two, but M16, man, it's just on the cusp.
I mean, compare Sodom's 2 in the 2000s
to
against
the multitude that the others had. Yeah.
No, against... and I'm just saying 2000 to 2010. Five albums that Destruction released.
And 3 from Creator.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a reason why there was only 2 for Sodom in that decade, is because that self-title was supposed to have been out in 2004, but their original producer left the project, so they picked up their old guitarist Andy Brings to do the production, and it didn't come out till 06. And also during that time, and to think, it blows my mind, it's like Creator and Destruction got to do American tours in the late 80s. Sodom had to wait until 2005 to doing a full-on American tour with Fintroll opening. Yeah, they played Milwaukee Metal Fest in 98, but they had a bad experience with the airport at the time, because they were going through...
As Tankard did American tours?
I think
I don't know.
I even think maybe they even did an American tour before Sodom, and you'd think Sodom was just as important and big as Creator during their runs, but they didn't get to do an American tour until 2005. Despite doing the Milwaukee Metal Fest in 98, but as I said, they'll say it in the documentary that they had a bad experience with the airport checking through their luggage and finding their bullet belts. They were blanks, but the guy said, "The primer's still alive." So,
What?
Yeah, it was a stupid situation. And so they came back in 05 and they said, okay, thank God we got this second chance, and it was one of the best tours they did with Fintroll opening for them.
Next time Creator does an American tour, I'm fucking going.
Same here, and Sodom as well. I would love to see Sodom live, especially seeing Frank Blackfire live will be cool, because he's been in both bands. Even though I think his material in Sodom was better than... Even though Como Souls you could put neck and neck with Agent Orange and Persecution Mania, but afterwards, the 2 albums he did afterwards... Ugh.
Yeah, they're like for me when Anathema leaves, but this time they actually Creator came back to the roots. I'm like, fucking Anathema still doing the fucking...
You never know. Maybe if they see what their peers at My Dying Bride and Paradise Lost have been doing, going back to their roots, maybe they will do it.
I've been saying that for years. They're in hiatus right now, so maybe...
There might be some hope.
Who's on hiatus?
Anathema.
Ah, screw them.
I mean, and I mentioned this before. It's sad because I see Canatonia, My Dying Bride, and
I would much rather see Tiamat coming back than Anathema.
Well, yeah, but again, I still have a little bit of hope, but just a tiny
Don't hold
bit.
your breath.
I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Well, there went Hannah. So, anyways, I was about to say that's... there she is.
Oh, there she is.
Well, anyways, I think now that would be a good moment to wrap things up for this week. So, reminder for the next episode, episode 54, top 10 most brutal metal songs. Particularly lyrically, doesn't necessarily have to be musically, because I think we all know if it was based on solely just the music, it'd be nothing but death metal. But
yeah,
I wanted to throw in more room for brutal lyrical songs. So, and we're gonna have
Hammer Smashed Face is not allowed.
No, you can have it in there. Come on, Artur. Don't be cheeky. And we're
Mind Tile.
And we're gonna have a guest on that episode, Amy Lilith from Twitch, who's really fun singer, good acoustic player, and she's not as big of a metalhead as her boyfriend, but a big metalhead in her own right. Hell, she even did Nurgle corpse paint on a picture on Instagram, because she's a big Behemoth fan, so there you go. So we'll have her on, hopefully next week, if not 2 weeks from now. So that does it for top 10 albums of the 80s. Good lord.
Oh boy.
Anyways. And then after that, I believe the episode after Brutal Songs is going to be the top 10 saddest metal songs. And that's going to be difficult.
And then after that...
I believe it's going to be the Behemoth Satanist discussion.
And after that...
Which is not a black metal album.
Blackened death metal, man.
Just kidding. He knew it was coming.
Yep.
He knew
it was coming along. But anyways, thank you guys who stuck around throughout this whole thing. And for those who are watching on Twitch, we will raid somebody. But who in the hell am I going to raid? That's the question. I need to go on Twitch right now and see.
See ya.
Who have I not raided before that I could raid? Oh, I raid a cooking channel, Mishy Masher. Go show her some love. And we will be back hopefully next week.
See ya.